Welcome back, friends, to the show that is all about friendship and connection. If you're new to Girls Just Want to Tell Stories, welcome. We are so happy you're here. Maybe you found us through Facebook or Instagram, or maybe it was Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe a friend recommended this podcast to you. However it is you found us, thank you for being here today. We would love to have you subscribe so you never miss an episode or a story. Welcome back, friends, to the Girls Just Want to Tell Story podcast. We are talking about firsts today. Lots of shared adventures and memories around first time things that we've done together as friends.
Yes, ma'am. The list is long and plentiful. Starting out from our first secret. And I don't know that we really had secrets from each other or, between each other, but this first story is kind of funny because you kept a secret from me that I very soon discovered. So you start off telling us your first piece.
Okay. All right. So here's what Katie's talking about. We are freshmen in high school. Friday night lights, football's a big deal. We're admiring, boys on the team, and we're so excited to be going to our first game. And of course, we can't drive. And so Katie and her mom are going to come pick me up. But everybody was gone from my house, and we didn't necessarily keep a lot of alcohol in the house, but people used to like to give my dad Korbel brandy as like a gift for the holidays. And so that was there. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try a little bit of this while I'm waiting. Right? Great idea. So I get a coffee cup out.
Oh my
pour
God.
in Korbel brandy into the coffee cup, and I sit at our little dinette table by the front door, just drinking this brandy, which tasted awful, and waiting for you to come and show up. And by the time you knocked on the door, I was a sight to be seen, and you had no idea what I had just been doing for the last.
No. So we're in the car. Yeah. So we pick you up. No problem. Hi, Janine, talking to my mom. And you just started getting weird. And I thought, what the hell is the matter with her? And then we get dropped off and we're buying our ticket. And you just all of a sudden went down a dark hole pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then I think I realized what had happened or what, you were drunk and I didn't really know what had happened. But oh my gosh. So then fast forward to the next part of the story.
Well, and here is where our friends are so important, right? Because that could have been a tragic night for me.
Oh, sure.
If friends, you included, and the story will reveal other people that helped me stay safe that night in a condition that, I was.
Very good point.
Very good point. So somehow one of our friends who had a car and was able to drive, they got me into the car and took me driving, because at the school event I could have gotten in a lot of trouble if a teacher or somebody had discovered my state.
That is true.
Right. So he takes me away. But at some point, and I really don't have a lot of memory because I had too much of that brandy. He comes back and gets you. Right. So
and he retrieves me from the football game and says, "You've got to come with me." And I'm thinking, okay. And I didn't really know where he was taking me, but then he took me to where you were. And then it was obviously clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's done for the night, but you were safe and taken care of. And then he drove me back to the game. And then that was it. I mean, but as a friend, I never checked back in, oh, how's she getting home? Where's she going to go?
Well, we didn't have cell phones then, so there wasn't an easy way to do that. And I was another friend, so there's sometimes in your high school years, there's the parent that maybe is a little more understanding about situations like this.
Yes.
So fortunately, I ended up at a friend's house whose mom, was able to help take care of me. And I do remember at some point having toast and eggs and water, and I'm sure she probably called my mom to let her know that I'd be staying there for the night, kind of thing. She probably didn't say why, but just so my mom didn't probably think anything of it.
Right.
But yeah, that was something where it wasn't like a lot of times, best friends, you might plan something like, let's still a beer and try it.
Dude.
I know. Well, were you not thankful? Were you not glad?
Well, yes. Yeah. So
I did you a favor.
That's funny.
You did. You're welcome. But I think I did myself a favor because, I mean, it did teach me a lesson, right? You know, part of when kids are experimenting with things like that and they're young, they don't know, you know, what their capacity is. And
Sure.
so it taught me a pretty big lesson. And I've never, I mean, we have lots of stories that involve alcohol, and I certainly enjoy a good drink and a cocktail, a glass of wine and a beer, whatever. But, you know, I didn't want to find myself on the, you know, in the dirt field near the hospital, near the high school,
Yes.
with my friends trying to pick me up. So,
Right. No, it did turn out well, and there's a lot of good points in there. Having a parent that is more understanding and helpful, because I'm not sure that my mother would have been that person, but
no, right. My mom would not have been happy to see me
yeah,
at that state. And
yeah,
and that's young, you know, to be
yes,
trying those things. But I live to tell, thank goodness.
yes, you did.
But you know, when they talk to kids about sticking together and staying together and looking out for each other, it's important because we all do dumb things. And if someone has this, their right mind, that at least can kind of help the situation, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Well, it sort of rolls right into our first fight, which really wasn't so much a fight as me just yelling at you. But again, alcohol was involved,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and we were seniors. Not that it makes it any better, but we were
yeah,
seniors and at a dance, and all of the sudden you were gone.
yeah.
We were at the dance together, and then you were gone, and we ran into one another at the famous Taco Bell parking lot in Petaluma. That was kind of
Yes.
the place to go at
Yeah.
night.
And
Eh,
we were dressed, we had gone with a group of girls, and we were all dressed in, we had this very much, we're seniors, we're going to do our thing. We all wore tuxedos with, you know, the red cummerbunds and the red bow ties, and it was really fun. And but yes, you know, it's like the whole no man left behind or no woman left behind. I left you behind, so I deserved the
Yeah,
uh, yelling that I got for leaving you. And of course, you know, it had to do with the boy. And um, we were still learning the lessons then about, you know, you should probably always stick with your girlfriends as opposed to the boy
right. Well, and
letting you.
I know for me, I was more, I was worried, like you were
Yeah.
just gone. And so I remember yelling, you just left us. What are you doing? You can't leave us. And then you ended up getting home that night before us. And
Yeah.
then Angie and I had to knock on your front door, our shoes in our hands, like knocking on the door. And your mom answered the door and she's like, your friend is already home. We're
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah. She wasn't very happy with me that night.
No, no. Poor
No.
Barbara.
Yeah.
We, we,
So,
we gave her the business a couple of times.
but we are fortunate as we were reflecting on these stories for you, for our audience, you know, we didn't have a lot of fights to even connect to over time. And, you know, and not that if you have conflict in your friendships, that means your friendship isn't solid. Um,
Right.
every relationship has, you know, different points of view and time you see things differently. And, you know, but I think for us, we've always been able to, you know, mutually see eye to eye and agree to, and not get into an escalated, elevated fight of sorts, which some
Right.
folks, you know, that can happen. And maybe those aren't folks that you want to have a long-term
Well, I
friendship
think
with.
we're both pretty easygoing. We're
Yeah.
both pretty, drama free.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just kind of, I know for me, I just kind of go with the flow a lot of times. So
Yeah.
really, it makes it, we had said from the beginning, it's always been a very easy friendship. And I think
Yeah.
that has been the key for us
Yeah.
over all of these years, just very effortless.
Well, and having a place to turn that you know is safe and fun
Yes.
and that drama free, it's it's amazing.
Right.
And we hope that our listeners out there, that you have a friend or friends that you can have that kind of relationship with. But you know, there are always times when maybe one person in the friendship, in this case it was me, does something that is not appropriate or acceptable. And you know, you gotta tell your friend, like, hey,
Yeah.
that was not cool.
Yeah.
And like you shared, it came from such a good heartfelt place of being worried,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
um
Yeah.
but okay, so those two stories bookend my high school. And I graduated with, you know, almost straight A's, and got into college, and which, you know, I didn't go down the wrong path, as it might sound like I
Right,
had.
right. I know. These were just, very few and far between little episodes, which sort of
Yeah.
rolls into, it's funny thinking about our circle,
Mhm.
and four of us were all in cheerleading camp together
Right.
in the summer of 82, I believe. We went to Santa Cruz for
Mm.
cheerleading camp.
Yes.
And we weren't like all the really sweetsy cheerleaders. Like, we were fighting. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember one of the guys, it was a guy, I remember, he came over, he was like running the cheer camp or whatever, and we were yelling at each other. And
Yeah.
I think that, I know I wanted to be the head cheerleader, and I know that, Solly did too. And we were, all just trying to run the show, and we were yelling. And the guy came over and he says, you girls aren't going to win any cooperation awards, because we can hear, everyone can hear you yelling. And I remember we were embarrassed, but I was also kind of like, dude, go away. Like,
Yeah.
this is kind of
Right.
how we function. But
Right. Well, so when I was thinking about that, and it was so much fun in the sense of we were kind of away from our families for a week, staying in the
yes.
dorms there. It was kind of a big deal. And so fortunately, I did not have that desire to be the head cheerleader. I was only a cheerleader because you wanted to be a cheerleader, and I wanted to do that with you, so
Oh,
um, I didn't. I remember feeling intimidated by all these other cheer squads that seemed so very sophisticated and very, like elite in my eyes, compared to, like, I felt like the country bumpkin kids from, the high school. And I think that maybe
oh,
that's
that's
some of
so
what came
funny.
in, like some of what the competitiveness of wanting to show that, hey, we were a good squad too, or we could, you know, um, be as good as some of the, and those are, it's just an example of like stories you make up in your head, like that. No, that wasn't necessarily reality, but it's what I remember thinking about being there, which might have contributed to some of our, some of that, uh, just anxiety and stress, and people, I guess in the way you guys were in a power, there was some power struggle going on, which can happen,
Yeah.
and when you're in a competitive environment like
Well,
that.
it's funny. Of here, as we're doing this, I'm learning about, more about those intricate details of back then, but I never looked at another squad and thought
Yeah.
anything. I just thought, here we are, we're going to do this. And, come on, you're doing it my way. And that was kind of where the fighting came in, but it was
Yeah.
all in good fun, really. We really
Right.
did have
Right.
a good time.
And I distinctly remember, and I'm sure we'll post a picture on our Facebook, where we had these like gray crop tops and these purple and white, which were our school color, dolphin shorts, and running around. And I
Yes.
remember the song that they taught us, the dancer team, was that Tainted Love song. And every time that song comes on, 35 years later, I think of that camp. Now I can't do the dance anymore. I don't know what the moves
Oh
were,
my
but
God.
that
See that
song,
song? I would have never remembered that detail.
yeah, that, I don't know why, that every time that song comes on, I think about that camp. And well, and there's one other funny story related to this, where we pulled a prank. So here we are, sophomores, which, they're so much better than freshmen. And
Right.
and you were reminding me what we did to the freshmen, which, oh, now I think, oh man, that was not
Okay, well,
very
not us, because we were sleeping. We were exhausted
well.
and dead and tired.
Yeah,
But two of our
yeah,
cheerleading group, I don't know how they had the energy or even woke up, but
yeah.
they had gotten up in the middle of the night and ran around and put Bengay, because we needed Bengay because your muscles are screaming by the end of the day. They
Right.
rubbed Bengay on all of the door handles
Yeah.
on the hallway, on all the dorms. And the next morning, one of the freshman cheerleaders said, "Oh, did you hear the cleaning ladies are putting polish on our doorknobs in the middle of the night?" And we're thinking, dorks, that wasn't the cleaning ladies. That
Right.
was us.
Right.
We're
Right.
part of our team,
Yeah.
the shenanigan girls.
So for us, that was really the first and really only kind of camp that we went to together. We
Yes,
weren't kids that grew up, like, I didn't grow up going to camp, like summer
me
camps, or
neither. Mm-mm.
yeah. So for us, that was the camp environment and support. That was definitely a first, and that was like you were saying, a first time where we had kind of more of this group conflict that we had to kind of make our way through, and we did.
Yes,
We did. Um, and I don't know that we won. We didn't win the cooperation
we
award,
didn't.
but
We didn't win the cooperation
that's
award.
okay. Who
But
cares
that,
now?
yeah,
We don't care.
um,
And
well,
so,
and we when we were seniors, we took our first real vacation together. And I remember that was a big deal, like saved all of my money for the
Yeah.
whole year. And we had our graduation trip, and a big group of us went and flew to Waikiki and stayed for a week. And um, it was fun. And we felt just so adult. And I remember you could drink in Hawaii because you
Yes,
could
at 18.
at 18. So we, had our IDs. One of our friends wasn't 18 and had a fake ID, and that caused a little bit of conflict. But the funny story I remember about that too is we went with and I'll say their sort of nicknames, and if they ever listen, they'll get a kick out of it. But Belle and Lent,
Yep.
they were like the junior high friends that we'd had, and they were just so funny. They spent all of their money within about the first 24 to 30 hours, and then they were broke. But they were like, I remember they would come up to us, they're like, oh, look what we bought, these matching dolphin necklaces or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you and I were much more regimented.
Yep.
We planned our whole week, and we had all of these great excursions and things that we did. So
Well, and we had a really, besides it being a first trip, and I don't know that our younger listeners can appreciate how infrequent travel like that was for us, right?
yes.
Like our families didn't take trips every year. I mean, and it was just our families. Like flying was still a big deal, and
Yeah.
going to all the
Yeah.
way to
That was
Hawaii
a
was
big
a
trip.
really
That
big
whole
deal.
thing. Yes.
And so of course, when you're in Hawaii, you've got to do things like surf. So for you and I, it was our first time we ever attempted surfing.
Yes.
And because, so growing up in Northern California, I actually had the story there for me was the ocean is a big, scary place and you should stay
Yes.
out of it, right?
Yes.
So, because we could have
Well, it's
surfed,
cold too, and
and it's freezing.
the rip tides and everything
Yeah.
else. Yes.
So here we were in Hawaii with the warm weather and all of that. And it was really a fun memory to try something like that with a friend. And do you remember, I don't know, did some of the other girls do it? Or just you and I don't
I don't think
remember.
so.
Yeah,
I think it was just us. And it was unfortunately, we selected our very last day of vacation for the surfing. And, your stomach down on the surfboard most of the time, paddling or whatever. And of course, sunscreen wasn't even, a thing
No.
then. And we were so sunburnt on the back, and we had to fly home the next day. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how are we going to make this flight? We're just
right.
so sunburnt, but so fun.
Yeah.
What great memories that trip was.
I know. And so I have this funny memory too of, so we were old enough to go to like the places and to go dancing and have fun like that. And this one place, they let the confetti come at some point in the evening, and we're sweaty. So then the confetti stuck to us, and then we went back to the hotel and went to bed. And so I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what is all this stuff in the bed? And it was all this confetti from the trip. Was appropriate though. Graduating from high school is one of the biggest milestones because
yes, it's your
life,
first.
yeah,
Yes, it's your first major milestone for sure.
Life really takes people in a lot of different directions, especially friends, right? So there's many friends that once you leave high school, that's it. You don't connect with them and maintain those friendships. You're like us, we're lucky that we have with each other and with other people that we went to school with, but that's not real common. And when we graduated, another first was living somewhere other than in the same town together.
Right.
And, I went to Southern California, down to Santa Barbara, and you went across the whole country. You went big.
Yeah, I did. Well, not right away. I went to one semester at the junior college, and then I got my job with TWA and moved to New York. But, one thing at that moment, as we're talking about it, like I don't remember saying goodbye to you when you left for college. It just was sort of assumed like you'd be back and we'd be back together. But really, that was the last time in our lives that we ever lived in the same town.
I know,
And
which is crazy to think.
it is. And when we were contemplating and thinking about that and, talking about what we're going to talk about for the shows or whatever, I thought, wow. And now we're a country apart. You're on the west coast of California and I'm on the west coast of Florida. And it's makes me sad sometimes, but we continue to forge ahead. So that's all that matters.
And take advantage of the technology that allows us to communicate in ways that, back when we did first, we're first apart, we wrote letters like crazy. There wasn't even email, so we wrote letters, put them in an envelope, put a post stamp on it, and sent it across the country. And I remember getting your letters and being so, like, it was such a big deal, like to go to the mailbox and there's like a letter, and and we both had lots of adventures at that point in our lives,
Yes.
right? You were flying all over the world, and I just leading, this life that was almost hard for me to comprehend, right? Because here I
Right.
am in college in the kind of an insulated little space in Santa Barbara, but having a great time too, right? And so we could share in each other's
Yes.
lives, and kind of some of that vicarious living that happens sometimes through your friends, right? Because you aren't
Yes.
doing everything the same together all the time. And we had really quite different early experiences right out of school.
But I think too, I mean, at least I feel as though I was able to come back enough that we could visit. Like I attended your college graduation. I was able to make, so I feel like some of those milestones that we had continued through our lives. We made sure that, we made it a priority
We did.
so we could be there for one another. And that's, that's an important part of, a lifelong friendship as well.
Exactly. And I think, we're fortunate in the sense that our parents maintained roots in the same place. And, so when we were traveling for holidays, we
Yes.
traveled to the same place and a lot of
Yes.
times, right?
Yes.
So, and
That was the anchor.
yeah,
Petaluma was the anchor for us.
and I'm not so sure at the time that I was really conscious of that, but now I certainly am, right? And there's still opportunity. Our parents are still in the same,
Yes.
general place. And as we talk about when can we get together next, sometimes we're coordinating it with visits to family and making sure that we can
Yep.
have our time together as well.
Well, talking about firsts, you brought this up, which was great. And this is our first really, I don't know, what is it called? Not a technological adventure, but a joint venture for
Mhm.
us. Ours, our podcast.
Right. Well, our
And
first creative project, we've talked about
yes,
doing
creative
something
project.
for
Yes.
years. And this is a big first for us, both as in our friendship
Yes.
and just personally. Like neither one of us
Right.
had like podcasted before. So,
Right.
we took it upon ourselves to learn something new and try something for the first time. And one of the things we wanted to share with our audience today is the value in firsts, meaning trying things for the first time, trying new things, novel things, is that it's really good for your longevity and your brain health.
Yes.
As we age, we start to think about things like memory loss and maybe worrying about some of the things that come with age. And when you have novel first new experiences, it actually creates in your brain new neural pathways. And so this is where Janine the geek shows up again with the brain. But we really want, I mean, having friends and nurturing friendships is important for a lot of reasons. But we want to keep reinforcing that it's good for your life, right? It's good for your
Yes.
health. It's good for your brain. And creating firsts with each other is a really fun thing to do as well. So being mindful and thinking
Right.
about, if you're thinking about trying something, ask a friend to join you, right? And so then
Right.
that deepens the experience even more when the two of you try something new. I know one of the examples is my mom in just the last couple years has learned to paint, and her friend, at least one friend, her friend Sandy, who listens, so thanks for listening, Sandy.
Eh,
um, uh, they've taken painting lessons together, and very much because they're in their 70s and they're thinking all the time about how to keep sharp and keep their brains. And my mom, her paintings are wonderful. They're, I have one in my family room. She's given them as gifts.
That's
and
awesome.
and she didn't learn when she was 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 even. She took
Right.
up painting, later. And so
You're never too old to learn something new.
yeah, never too old. And we'll put some stuff on the Facebook page too about, there's lots of great stories out there about people who have taken things up in their later years. And
Yes.
so youth is not reserved, for novelty, right? That's not the only
Right.
time. Just happens to be that most things that happen early in your life are the first time because you haven't been around, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
Well, and I had done a little research as well, just like why is trying things new? Why is that good? Why do we
mhm.
need to keep doing that? And there was actually a couple of different studies. Researchers found that people who reported high levels of boredom, right? The same thing, monotony over and over again, were twice as likely to die from heart disease. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's one thing we want to kind of stay away from, right?
Mhm.
And that we can only pay attention to a small number of things at one time,
Yeah.
and paying attention is necessary for creating new memories. So I mean, I want to keep the memories that I have, and I want to create new synapses in the brain so we
Right.
can continue to, build memories together. So these are all really important things, and I'm really happy that we decided to start this new project together, because it's really been fun, and I've learned a lot. I've learned things about you that after 41 years I never knew. I
Right.
mean,
Well,
how else would I have known that unless we
right.
were talking in detail every other week about, a different topic?
Right, because you know, we're able in this format and as we prep, right, to kind of relive situations that, and we're in each other's heads in a way that even though we were at the situation and the place together doing the same things, we might not have been sharing what was going on in our heads in these
Right.
different situations.
Right.
And it's an interesting thing about how memory works, right? How what I remember, you were sharing with me, you remember the first day of high school, my mom drove us. And for me, it's not really memorable because my mom drove me to school all the time. But for
Right.
you, it was a
Right.
novel experience,
Right.
Yes,
Because
it
I
was.
didn't have to take the bus
See,
to
see,
my first day of high school. I
right,
got to drive with Barbara in the Cadillac and go to the front of Petaluma High School.
exactly, exactly. So it was a novel
Uh,
experience, and and when we want people to feel like they can try new things, and it doesn't
of
have to be like
course.
turn it yourself, become a painter. They say, even like you were talking about that boredom piece or that monotony, even
Yes.
walking, if you walk every day, which is good for you, walking a different route or driving a
Yes.
different way. Or,
Yes.
if you always go to the same restaurant, maybe try a new restaurant.
Right.
And
Right.
those little tiny things are good for you as well. And again, I do that a lot with my friends here, where I'll read in the newspaper a review about something new that's opened, a new show or a new restaurant. And I'll reach out and say, who wants to go check this place out with me?
Sure.
I'm not recommending it because I've never tried it, but I'm always willing to, check it out. And I really, most of the time it's not, it's a place I would go back and would
Right.
recommend, but I get
Right.
people to like kind of come along with me and kind of share the experience,
Right.
and that's a lot of what we're talking about too, is creating these new experiences with your friends, and it's important with your families too. um, which is why when you
Right.
have, we're kind of past this, but when you have the kids that are like hemming and hawing and don't want to go do something with you, you're trying to expose them to something new or
Yes.
create a new experience, just drag their butts with, they don't appreciate it perhaps in the moment, but long term they will, and they'll look back. I know as parents sometimes it's almost like you get your feelings hurt because it's like, well, why do you, this is going to be fun, why do you want to do this? And we can appreciate
Well,
that.
we have a trip planned coming up, my husband and I,
Mhm.
and one of the adventures you can do is zip lining, and I've never been zip lining, and I thought, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be fun? And he says, I'm not going to go zip lining. Are you kidding me? So I'm thinking, dude, really? You're not going to go zip lining? But now, after all of this and the research, I'm going to force him to do something new
Oh,
to
good.
keep that brain healthy.
Yeah, and I'm
Try
gonna,
something new.
if not, I'll harass him.
That's
It's
right.
very fun. It's very fun.
Yes.
Where are you guys gonna go do that? Where are you going?
We're going to Puerto Rico for a
Oh,
weekend.
nice. Oh,
Yes.
very fun. See,
Yes.
see, that's what you can do on the East Coast for the weekend. You can just zip
Yes.
over there.
Pretty much. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We went ziplining in Costa Rica,
Oh.
and it was amazing. Actually, what's really fun about that is the first time I tried zip lining was up in Occidental, up in Northern California, from
Oh,
by where we're
yeah.
from. And so you're kind of in the redwoods, and it was because my mom asked for her birthday. I want to go zip lining, and I want to go with
Oh,
you and the grandsons, which at the time they were like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. They were small. And so that was our first like
oh, good
family, and
job, Barbara.
that was my mom. Yeah, she's always, I think, been game to try new things. And
Well,
oh,
and
I'm
that's
glad you
why
guys
she's
are
living
going.
healthily in her 70s. She's a
That's right.
perfect example.
Yep, yep, and spends lots of time with her friends. So, well, I'm glad you guys are going to have that adventure and going to
Yes.
be trying something new.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so we hope for those of you listening today, you're inspired to try something new and try it with a friend, and realize that you're never too old to create first times for yourself and in your friendships. And when you do, you really are not only helping yourself, but your friend as well, right? You guys are
Yes.
learning and growing something new together, and you never know where it will lead you, like where this podcast has taken us. And we're
Yes.
so excited to come and share with you our stories. And we hope you had a laugh today, and maybe recalled some firsts in your life that made you smile. Thank you very much for
Yes.
listening.
Thanks for listening.